Today our topic is finding your Magi, going it alone or getting help when it comes to investments and financial planning. Joining me today is Jim Pastor, head academic, who's also the author of the book, Finding a Real Cowboy, which covers this whole topic. And so Jim, this is a really interesting topic. One of the main reasons people don't invest is they're either leery of making a mistake. In other words, if they do it themselves, they feel they'll make a mistake. Or they're concerned that the person they ask may take advantage of them or charge them high fees. And let's just face it right now, the trust numbers in our industry are an all-time low.
Yeah, financial services, even if you look at how much the market has recovered since 2008, 2009 Great Recession, the trust numbers still in financial services are at the bottom of the chart when compared to other industries. Right. And there is a lot of concern about, how can I trust the person I'm dealing with? And a lot of these wounds are self-inflicted by the industry itself. But as an individual, it's important to realize that financial planning for you is a priority, and you need to figure out ways that you can achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve. And you shouldn't let the fact that there are problems in an industry or an approach get in the way of that. So having said that, I think part of what we're doing here hopefully is giving people some good ideas as far as how to approach the whole process. We've already talked about there's a big difference between targeted planning and comprehensive financial planning, which is the whole big picture. And when you're dealing with financial planning advice, you have to take that into account. In other words, when you go to a professional, are they truly a financial planner? In other words, what you want to do is you want to look for somebody who's squarely on your side, who's looking out for your best interests. There's nothing wrong with going to an insurance salesman or stockbroker if that's specifically what you're looking for, and you can also confirm that they're good at what they do. But if you're looking for financial planning, you want somebody who does financial planning and understands the big picture, and again is squarely on your side. And the word that comes up there oftentimes is fiduciary.
Well, and we'll talk more about that, but one of the interesting things I've recently read is more and more young investors are going it alone. They
Right.
feel that they trust themselves and the tools that are out there, specifically on the internet, to do it themselves. For somebody who wants to go it alone, what recommendations can you make to them?
Well, first of all, with the internet, there are all sorts of great academic studies. There are great books out there. Classics such as Stocks for the Long Run by Jeremy Siegel, Random Walk Down Wall Street by Burt Makael that have been in print for decades. They're in their, 10th, 15th edition, whatever. There's plenty of excellent information about there. John Bogle of the Vanguard Funds. So if you just do a little reading and get past the, flipping real estate investment books and the, latest fad books, but look at some of the real good classic books that are out there about investing. If you read those and understand, what has worked in the past and why, I think that goes a long ways towards coming up with a strategy as far as investing for the future.
All right. Well, I decide that I want to have somebody help me. There's kind of a misconception or a lack of understanding about what the difference is between an agent, an advisor, and a financial planner.
Yeah, and welcome to the club. And again, a lot of this is self-inflicted. Part of what's happened is we do have individuals out there whose titles represent what they do. We also have a lot of individuals who use titles for marketing purposes, and they may or may not be what they say. For example, you might have someone who says they're a financial advisor, but if they primarily 90% of their business is annuities, I would argue they're an annuity salesperson. There's nothing wrong with being an annuity salesperson. Perhaps, hopefully, they're an expert on annuities and could do a good job in that area. But from the individual standpoint, that's not the same as going to somebody, say, who's a financial
And typically,
planner.
they're going to be an agent of a
Right.
firm.
So you have legally an agent typically is in insurance. So that's going to be someone in life insurance, auto, health, disability. That would be an agent. And they're regulated. Insurance is generally regulated on the state level. There are also some federal regulations, but generally that's going to be insurance. When you hear the word advisor, that gets used all over the place. But oftentimes it will be somebody who's on the stock brokerage side, works with a broker-dealer. They may primarily be a stockbroker. You may hear terms like wealth manager, financial advisor, things like that. And that's where you really have to ask the person, ask them what's their mix of business? What do they do? What do they charge? What's their typical client? You're finding more and more individuals find niches that they work well with. So if you can find an individual who basically works with, let's say you're a 30-some-year-old and you're technology savvy and you're looking for somebody who really is wired into that world, you can find somebody like that. But it may take some searching.
Right, right. Agreed. So, what are some of the questions you should ask potential agents, advisors, planners who you're looking to help with your financial planning needs?
Well, a couple of the biggie questions I think are things such as, are you a fiduciary? Are you putting my best interest first?
And maybe just for a second, kind of explain the fiduciary standard,
Yeah,
what that really means.
Yeah, the fiduciary there are two main standards out there right now as far as financial profession is concerned. You have the fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard, meaning you're supposed to put the best interests of the client first. And then you have what's called the suitability standard. And this is what a stockbroker, for example, would be held with. And the suitability standard essentially says you have to make sure that any investments you recommend are suitable. Now, it's not as high a standard because if you're looking out for the best interests of the client, that may mean that perhaps the main business you do isn't the best choice at that particular time for that individual. For example, maybe they should be getting their debt under control rather than investing. Things like that come into play. So, the suitability is fine, again, if you go to a broker and say, I want help with my investments, and they make sure the investments are suitable. That's fine. But again, as far as comprehensive financial planning is concerned, really what you want is that fiduciary because they put the clients, or they're legally required to put the best interests of the client first.
Right, right. Okay, so there are some sources out there to actually find true financial planners should you want a financial planner. And
Right.
I guess probably the ones that come to mind are FPA. Who else would we think of?
Yeah, I mean, you have different organizations. You have the Financial Planning Association. You have the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors. You have the Society of Financial Service Professionals. You have the Garrett Planning Network. So there are different entities out there. They have different philosophies. So it behooves someone, as we talked about in one of our other sessions, spend some time on this. In other words, don't think just because your friend deals with somebody that they're going to be a good fit for you. And don't think it's necessarily going to be easy to find somebody. But if you find a good advisor who really clicks and works well with you, that can be a life-changing event as far as helping you get to where you want to go.
All right. Well, any last words of wisdom?
Yeah, I think what people sometimes are afraid of is to ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking potential advisors or your planner questions. In other words, ask them about their background, ask them about their mix of business, ask them about, how do they educate themselves? What does continuing ed? Do they attend conferences? Ask them what is their investment philosophy. Ask them these questions. Ask them how much they're going to make if you buy something from them. Ask them how much you would get if a week from now you suddenly, God forbid, needed the money right away. How much would you lose? These are all legitimate questions which should be answered. And if you get any sort of tap dancing around them, my advice would be move on and interview another potential planner.
Okay, great. Going it alone or choosing a professional to help you is a very important decision. And we hope today's discussion will help you on that path. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again.